It may sound strange to talk about a topic like this on your spiritual journey, but I'm the kind of person who has a need to know things. I like to understand what's going on, and there's a lot of times in my spiritual journey things happen that I didn't understand, and I had to learn to accept those things and to believe that what was happening was what was needed to happen at the time, even though I may not like it very much. So, what does that have to do with science and spirituality? Well, I've told you about Dan a little bit last time. Dan Kimmel, I don't know, he just was somebody that was very close to me. But more than that, he opened my eyes to understand so much more about what is really, this universe is really all about. God's universe is really all about. And particularly, I was fascinated by two subjects: Heisenberg's uncertainty principle and deterministic chaos theory. But Dan would take a lot of time to try to help me understand what this was all about. And the uncertainty principle is basically saying that there's a fundamental limit to the accuracy with which certain particles can be predicted from initial conditions. In other words, you can have all the facts in the world, you can look at all these facts, and you can determine, based on your knowledge, what the consequences should be. But the fact is that we know that we can't do that, because everything in Heisenberg's world, and in the world of physics, is either a wave or a particle. And so it was assumed, I think, for many years that they were different objects. Well, the fact is, it turns out that everything has those characteristics. And so what happens is that you can determine some things, but you can't determine others. And what really struck me is this statement that there's a fundamental limit to the accuracy with which certain particles can be predicted from initial conditions. This is built into the universe itself. In other words, there isn't anything we can do about it. There are things that we are not going to be able to predict, not be able to control, not be able to understand. Now, stop and think about that for a minute. To us super control freaks who think if we have ultimate knowledge, we can run this world. Well, the fact is we can't. Brilliant minds have determined that there's a fundamental limit to what we can know. And if you accept that, and I do, then we have to readily admit that there is some power, some force in this universe that obviously can control those things. And to me, that power, that universal force, is God. And so, that particular principle, the uncertainty principle, really is just tremendously helpful to me in understanding the limited role that men play in being able to determine their own outcomes in the long run. We just can't. And then I'll move into the chaos theory, because the chaos theory, it's deterministic chaos. You have to understand these are all mathematical concepts, and I can tell you I suck when it comes to mathematics. So I'm doing my best to try to communicate what Dan taught me. But deterministic chaos says that we can look at all the variables we can think of in any particular equation, trying to determine something. It came out of trying to predict weather. And that's where the theory came from, because people would try to put everything they could think of into the computer, and therefore we've tested all these variables, and this is what the weather should be. Well, guess what? Anybody who plans a picnic for a sunny afternoon and finds it raining knows that doesn't work. So what went wrong? Well, chaos theory basically says that any tiny change in any one of those variables can have extremely large consequences. And so we can try to predict, again, outcomes based on all of our knowledge, but the fact is that we cannot consider everything. And one little thing, one tiny little thing, that's incidentally, it's sometimes called the butterfly theory, because people think it's about a butterfly flapping its wings in China or something. No, that's not it. What it is about is that if you look at the distribution of the patterns, they form the shape of a butterfly with two big wings on either side around the central part. And it's trying to predict that central part where the problem comes in. If you don't predict everything, if you don't take into consideration every single thing and what every single thing is going to do, you're not going to be able to predict the center. So it was just really fascinating. Now let me take all this and put it back to my spiritual journey. What this told me was that what I had gone through, and I related last time what I had gone through in my life, was in fact chaos. I thought I had a plan. I was going to leave my wife, go out in the world, do great things, and experience this wonderful freedom. And yet, everything fell apart. What went wrong? Well, what went wrong was there was a tiny little error in my calculation. And that tiny little error in my calculation had enormous consequences. I did not take into consideration all the basic concern I have in my life for doing the right thing. And what I was doing instead was trying to take care of my pleasure-seeking and freedom-seeking instincts, and I forgot some of the core values of who I was. And because of that, when I really was alone and I really had to face that, I fell into the depths of despair that I had never been in before in my life. I really literally wanted to end my life. But the fact is, I didn't. The fact is that I came upon a spiritual program that literally saved my life in many ways and gave me the strength to continue. Strength not only in beliefs, but strength in companionship and friends. And so, to me, my spiritual journey is based on a very good, sound scientific basis. You can't predict the future. Don't matter how you try, no matter what you do, you just can't. All you can do is deal in probabilities. There's a probability, and it could be a high probability that this will happen, but you don't know for certain. And so there comes a point where you recognize that, and you make a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of that power that can determine what's going to happen, can provide you the guidance and leadership you need to have. And I don't care what you call that power. To me, it's God. Universal force, For me, for a while, it was a tree. A great, huge tree that grew in Maclay Gardens when I was running. I would stop every day, and I'd run up to that tree, and I'd hug it, and I could feel its strength coming into me. I just loved that tree. And so for a while, it was a tree. But it was something It gave me hope, gave me strength, gave me a foundation. And that little glimmer of hope became much larger when I expanded into a much deeper spiritual program. So I was a planner most of my life. I was commissioner on aging and planned and did all kinds of great work for old people in Wisconsin. I was a financial planner and helped people achieve financial independence. I worked for the United Way as a planner and planning new programs and services. So here I was, the consummate planner, and realizing finally that there's a real limit to how much I can really determine what's going to happen. All I can do is deal in probabilities and make a decision to turn my will and my life over the care of some other power who can make determination. So that's an absolutely crucial step for me in my spiritual program. And then to understand that if I'm going to undertake that, there is going to be times of uncertainty, there's going to be times of fear, there's going to be chaos in my life. And I just have to understand that for change to happen, I have to go through chaos. And what they say is, out of chaos comes order. And so what I have to do is just keep my eye focused on what it is I'm trying, just stay centered on my program and understand that it's going to be hard. I'm going to go through hard times, but that there is a reason for that. There is a plan somebody, something has for me. And if I will just keep on going, I'll be okay. And that's certainly been the case for me. Despite wanting to drive my car at 90 miles an hour into an abutment on the interstate, and I didn't do it, thank goodness. Despite all those days of despair and sorrow and sobbing and everything else, I emerged out of that, sort of the old cocoon and butterfly thing, I emerged out of that into a new life, a rich, full life that I am so privileged to enjoy today. So, science and spirituality, do they go together? Yes, very much so for me. Because what I have said many times before, the more I know, the more I know, I don't know. And the more I know I don't know, the more I know I'll know when I need to know. And so that's what I remember. I don't know everything. I just have to have faith that things are moving in the direction they're supposed to, and I will know what I'm supposed to do when it's time for me to do it. So I hope this hasn't been too off track for you, but it is a very big part of my spiritual program. As I said before, introducing this topic, that spirituality satisfies the soul, but the mind is there too, and the mind needs to be satisfied. And if you really know and understand some of the basic truths behind some of the greatest minds in the world, science will also lead you to understand and to believe that there is a reason for all of this. And that reason we may not know, but we can really enjoy. Thank you very much. Next time we'll be talking a little bit more about a couple of specific experiences I had early on in my spiritual journey and how they impacted my life today. Have a very blessed day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye now.